Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a stack of source material, focusing on one particular YouTube discussion that's pretty detailed, covering history, politics, current events in Pakistan. We're going to unpack the claims made in this source, looking at its specific take on Pakistan's nuclear program history, Yami Takbir. Now it ties all that into what's happening right now.
Exactly. And this source, well, it has some very strong viewpoints on who gets credit for things, how key people have been treated, the power dynamics it sees in recent protests. It doesn't hold back.
Yeah, definitely specific takes.
Yeah.
So our mission here is really to pull out the key insights, the specific claims from this source for you. Think of it as a focused look at one perspective on some really complex stuff, giving you the core points the source is making. Let's unpack this deep dive. Okay, so the source starts right off with Yami Takbir, the anniversary of the nuclear tests.
Yep.
And it immediately challenges that common claim, often linked to the PMLN, right? That Nawaz Sharif was the main guy.
Yeah.
That he made the decision or even developed the bomb.
Right. This source says that's not accurate. It puts Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan front and center, calls him the real Mohseni Pakistan, the benefactor, who it claims actually led the whole thing.
And it traces this back way further than 1998. It points to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto back in 71 after that major defeat, saying Dr. A.Q. Khan contacted Bhutto then, offering to make Pakistan nuclear. That's the claim.
And the source, it acknowledges the establishment, different governments, they provided money, facilities.
Infrastructure.
But it really emphasizes from its viewpoint that it was Dr. Khan and his specific team, the scientists, the engineers who built the program, did the work.
Now, here's a point from the source that really jumps out. It claims Pakistan actually had the capability much, much earlier than 98.
That's a big one.
It says Dr. A.Q. Khan wrote a letter, apparently, to General Zia back in 1984.
84.
Saying, we've got it. We can test within a week if you give the word. That's the source's account.
Well, that certainly paints a very different picture of the timeline, doesn't it? Raises questions based on this source about, who knew what and when.
Exactly.
And the source also throws in that later, Benazir Bhutto's government oversaw the testing of long-range missiles, the kind that could carry warheads like 1,500 kilometers.
Right. Okay, so fast forward. May 1998, India tests.
Huge pressure on Pakistan. Massive.
And Nawaz Sharif is prime minister.
So the source goes into this period just before Pakistan's tests, and it describes Nawaz Sharif as, hesitating.
Hesitating. How so?
It claims he was negotiating with the U.S., specifically mentions Bill Clinton, talking about a big financial package.
Yeah.
If Pakistan agreed not to test, that's the allegation in the source.
But according to this source, the pressure just built up too much.
Overwhelming, it sounds like. From the public, from opposition leaders. It mentions Qazi Hussain Ahmad of Jamaat Islami.
Right. The source notes his argument. The bomb's a deterrent. Don't listen to the U.S.
Exactly. And pressure from the establishment, and crucially the source claims from Dr. A.Q. Khan and his team, saying they were threatening to resign if the tests didn't go ahead.
Wow. Quite the scene painted by the source.
It even shares some specific stories, like Majid Nizami, the media owner, apparently told Nawaz Sharif straight up, test or the nation won't forgive you.
Strong words.
And another one, Shehbaz Sharif supposedly told Gohar Ayub about this potential U.S. deal that was being discussed.
Gohar Ayub. What was his reported reaction, according to the source?
The source claims Ayub said something like, look, the system's already loaded, we can't back down now, especially because the test site was deep underground, all prepared, no turning back.
So if you follow the source's logic here, it suggests Nawaz Sharif deliberately kind of stepped back from pushing the actual button.
That's the implication, yes. The source suggests it was maybe so he could later say, well, I was forced into it, letting the scientists take that final step.
Okay, so the core argument from this source about 98 is Nawaz Sharif took the credit for tests using a capability that, according to this source's timeline, Dr. Khan's team had actually sorted out way back in 1984.
That's the essence of its claim on that. And the source adds another little political point here, too.
Oh, yeah.
About Yami Takbir itself, saying it wasn't always a public holiday.
Right.
And it speculates maybe the current government declaring it recently was politically motivated, perhaps, it suggests, to affect Imran Khan's court case schedules. Just speculation from the source, mind you.
Interesting timing, certainly. And the source even comments on her newspaper photo.
Yeah, it critiques a recent photo celebrating the day, claims it showed Nawaz, Shehbaz, current military leaders like Asim Munir, Sahir Shamshad, Very prominent.
Okay.
But the source argues key historical figures it sees as central, like Bhutto, Dr. A.Q. Khan, Zia, Benazir Bhutto, were either hidden, obscured, or just not there. While some pictured, the source implies, weren't really involved in the original program.
So a critique of how history is being visually represented now, based on its view of who was truly instrumental.
Exactly. And moving from that history, the source then makes a really pointed connection to today's politics.
How so?
It brings up how Dr. A.Q. Khan was treated later on.
Ah, yes. The source clearly feels strongly about this, laments that the hero, in its view, who gave Pakistan the bomb,
Was later punished, house arrest, forced confession on TV, allegedly under U.S. pressure. The source recounts all that.
Yeah.
And it uses that verse from Dr. Khan about his life passing among the Kufis, implying betrayal, to really hammer home its point about how he was treated.
Right. And the source connects that to Imran Khan's current situation in jail.
Directly. It says, according to its analysis, the military establishment is treating Imran Khan as a target of admonition, like making an example of him.
Ishan Ibrat, that's the term.
Yes, just like the source claims happened with Dr. A.Q. Khan. It argues there's a pattern here.
What pattern?
That people who, in the source's view, serve Pakistan well end up punished, while those it alleges sell Pakistan, well, they get embraced. That's the stark contrast it draws.
And it mentions details reportedly from Imran Khan in jail.
It does. Claims he reported being denied visits from his wife, Bushri Begum, and talks about her imprisonment as unjust.
Okay.
And it highlights what it frames as his defiance, saying he won't bow down, won't make a deal with what the source calls the pharaoh-like establishment.
Strong language there.
And it mentions his instructions for legal action, contempt of court against jail officials, a fundamental rights case in the Supreme Court.
So, defiance and legal challenges. And what about action?
The source puts forward a call to action, it says, comes from Imran Khan himself, announcing an upcoming nationwide protest movement initiated from jail.
Right. So the source is basically saying the system, as it sees it, is maybe underestimating his continued influence, even from prison.
That seems to be the angle, yeah. It questions how the system is grappling with his enduring support.
The source also tackles this narrative, it says, comes from touts.
Yeah, it uses that word, implies maybe agents of the establishment or opponents.
Okay, and what's the narrative?
That the military leadership it names, Asim Munir, Zahir Shamshad, apparently hates Imran Khan.
And how does the source respond to that claim?
It finds that fascinating, contrasting it directly with the military's public statements about being apolitical. It asks, who's telling the truth here?
A fair question, I suppose.
And it argues, look, military officials are paid to protect the country, not to hate politicians. It says the right to love or hate, well, that belongs to the public.
Interesting distinction.
It even throws in a mention of past love surveys for leaders and sort of threatens future hate surveys if these touts, as it calls them, don't pipe down.
Okay. Shifting focus a bit, the source also mentions a protest in Islamabad.
Yes, a recent one. For solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza.
And what happened there, according to the source?
It reports arrests. Participants, including doctors, women, children, apparently detained. And the source asks, basically, is it forbidden now to mourn for Palestinians or protest Israeli actions?
Raising a question about freedom of expression on that issue.
And then it makes a really striking speculative leap.
You know why?
It suggests maybe videos of these arrests are being filmed to be shown to masters. It implies foreign powers as some kind of proof of loyalty.
Wow, that's quite a claim.
It links this idea to reports it mentions about a Pakistani delegation visiting Israel and suggests parts of the establishment or government might actually want normal ties, might not be against Israel.
So the source is alleging a deep disconnect between public feeling on Palestine and what it suspects some officials might be doing or thinking behind the scenes.
Precisely. And it contrasts this with a recent statement it attributes to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
MBS. What did he say, according to the source?
That the source noted him calling for Israel to stop its aggression, follow international law, and advocating for a united global response, presenting that as a different stance.
Okay. And there's one final anecdote the source shares about a rally.
Yeah, a Yami Takbir rally, apparently led by Maryam Aurangzeb.
From PMLN.
Right. And the source describes the crowd's reaction. Says when chants went up for PMLN leaders Naraz, Shabazz, Maryam, the response was, well, pretty poor. But when the chant was Nara-e Takbir, the religious slogan, the response was energetic.
Interesting. And the source's interpretation of that.
Its take was that the workers there were maybe more interested in the food being provided and perhaps felt the leadership was just in it for personal gain, not leading any real revolution. That's how the source read the situation.
So quite a journey through the source's perspective. We've covered its specific account of the nuclear program's history, the credit debate,
The 84 capability claim.
its strong views on how figures like Dr. A.Q. Khan and now Imran Khan have been treated,
The parallels it draws there.
and its take on recent events like those protests, the arrests, the political rallies.
Yeah, we've really tried to lay out the specific narratives and anecdotes this source puts forward, how it connects historical interpretations to current political tensions and public sentiment as it sees them.
It's definitely a look at how history gets debated, how those debates fuel current struggles, all through the very specific lens of this one source we dove into.
Absolutely. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? About power, about how individuals who, in its view, challenge things are treated, and that tension it highlights between official lines and, well, what people might actually be feeling.
So listening to all that, reflecting on this source's narrative, what really stands out to you?
I think it's that central argument the source keeps returning to, the perceived difference between serving the nation versus serving oneself, and how that specific frame shapes its entire view of Pakistan's history and its current political figures. It colors everything it presents.
Definitely something to mull over. And maybe a good starting point to seek out other perspectives on these complex events.